this definition, which is using living organisms to produce a product. And it can be in a basic sense where we simply want to understand more about how an organism functions, and then there's an applied sense where we want to actually produce a product that is consumed. Yes, scientists have now become more aware that we need to be involved in the message that goes out to the media and to educate the public at large. We felt we didn't need to do this because we just felt like we know that it's safe, we understand the science. Once that becomes self-evident, I don't know how we thought that would become self-evident, but we paid no attention to that aspect of it. But now we're realizing we have to get the message out, and the way we're doing it is through classes that we teach that give you the basics about the science and also deal with the controversial issues. We also have websites now that deal with the topic to try to educate the public, and as well as our professional societies in which we seek different methods to advertise, to educate the public.
When you think about it, the process of biotechnology is probably not very different from traditional crossbreeding practices, where in many cases hundreds to thousands of genes are transplanted from one variety to another. But the fact that biotechnology is done in a lab environment, is at the molecular level, and deals with genetic material, I think creates a sense in the public's perception that the process is not a natural one. And that lack of naturalness can sometimes lead to perceptions of risk and maybe some perceptions of concern about what the effect of ingesting these kinds of products might be.
Here in the U.S., many citizens really don't understand biotechnology, and they get most of their messages from the media. There are both negative and positive messages that they get. But overall, I would say that consumer acceptance in the U.S. is more of a positive thing, although biotech companies and growers in food biotechnology, for example, are sometimes reluctant to go in that direction because the potential that consumers will not accept the product. Consumer acceptance is more of an issue in Europe, where they have a different attitude towards food and want them to be more natural. And in there is a definite negative feeling towards food or plant biotechnology. It really does matter whether consumers accept biotechnology or not. We initially as scientists didn't think it mattered because we felt that, well, once they understood the benefits, they would embrace it and there wouldn't be an issue at all. Then we realized that combining some negative advertising with a lack of understanding made them so wary that they won't buy it, and that drives the market. And not being in the business end of it, scientists didn't understand that concept. So it is important because those that manufacture food products want a positive image about their product.
So from an agricultural standpoint, if these products aren't accepted, agriculturalists will go on to use technology as well as conventional processes, but there might be some hesitancy based on this experience. Usually there's a pro side and an anti side, and then there's a governmental spokesperson. So representatives from those agencies are often part of the debate. And then I think that the producers and growers and the companies who are involved in biotechnology and genetically modified products are also factors in this debate. Sometimes the farmers and the companies are seen as sort of a group that is together, and sometimes they're actually a little bit disparate.
And in the U.S. we have, for whatever reason, a greater trust in scientists and in the regulatory system, and we need to maintain that. But that means we need to be rigorous. So we can't take things for granted. We can't just assume that people will accept the technology, and we can't let any bad products out. And then I think with time, once nobody is getting sick, people are getting healthier, people are enjoying those foods, it will become a non-issue.
I did a series of focus groups a couple of years ago where we dealt specifically with this issue of trust and its relationship to perceptions about genetically modified organisms. And there was a definite subset of consumers who said, I don't really care what I eat as long as the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, says it's okay. So they trusted the Food and Drug Administration would do what was necessary from a regulatory standpoint, and as long as that was the case, they were fine. They didn't need to know anything else.
The majority of consumers, frankly, don't want to know that much more. They just want to be assured it's safe. After that, I don't think they really want to know the nitty-gritty details about it. However, because of efforts of other groups to have negative campaigns, you need to somehow diffuse that. And the only way is to try to explain what the technology is about, how it's done, what's different about it, what's the same as always has been done, what benefits there are, and what are the risks, and if there are legitimate risks, how those risks are contained and reduced. Because everything we do has a certain amount of risk associated with it. But is it unacceptable levels of risk, or is it acceptable levels of risk?
Most of the information that the members of the general public are getting on biotechnology come from the media, and the news media in particular. I think that in order to have biotechnology get a fair hearing and a real sense of whether or not it's going to be accepted or not, I think the real issue is trying to provide information that will help be used to make more informed decisions by consumers, by members of the general public.
Well, the media, they try to have a balanced point of view, but in essence what they do is always show the positive and the negative, making it seem equal when the negative is not equal at all, in my opinion, in this respect. So also, because the consumer does not understand the science as well as maybe they could, they're easily swayed by the media. So the media likes things to be, especially in the US, more sensational. So they'll have titles like Harvest of Fear or Frankenfoods, things that already sound negative. So when you are advertising an episode or a segment and have that title already, it has a negative connotation to it from the start. And then once you get into the story, they may try to have a more balanced point of view. But I think that overall, the media tries to do a good job, but we also need to educate them, and that's sometimes very difficult too.
I think that it's not so much a question of acceptance as it is being able to provide enough information so that people can make informed decisions on their own.
What I would want the media to pass on to consumers is information based on valid science, pure and simple. And it doesn't matter what the information is in the sense of it may be negative, it may be positive, it may be neutral, but as long, in my opinion, is that the information is accurate from a scientific point of view. But there are people that have ethical point of views that it doesn't matter what the science is. They're just against something because of ethical reasons. But I would hope that the media would present a balanced view that is scientifically valid and not sensational or over-promotional or under-promotional, just giving the facts.